Hello and thank you for joining us today at Distracted by Life. Our podcast is all about making change within yourself and your relationships. We share conversations, stories, and explore ideas coming from our lifelong journey of the high points and especially the low points where we learn to face our fears or cope with pain, loss, and failure. We do this in a discovery quest to establish patterns around our past and understanding whether we are tripping up from our past or being held hostage by it. We work on identifying ways to move forward, aligning our core values, and unlocking the keys to self-awareness, self-acceptance, self-compassion, and letting go of what is not serving you positively in life. A better you is always there, ready to explore in a new world. So let's begin. Learning how to be your authentic self is a crucial part of building a meaningful life and genuine relationships. Authenticity happens when your words, actions, and behaviors consistently match your core identity. Today's podcast is all about choosing authenticity. Amal and I will have a brief discussion on how to determine authenticity and how you define your authentic self. Let's get started, shall we? Hi, and welcome, Amal.
Hi, Dan. Glad to be here as always.
So why did you choose authenticity for this podcast episode?
Well, I know the topic did come up a lot in the past. However, in this podcast, I would like to cover as an exceptional quality to have to build real deep connections versus surface level, which what our society is comfortable with, and most people tend to interact and operate from that surface level.
Okay. So then how do you determine authenticity?
There is few ways to determine authenticity, but when it comes to individuals, I would say they would have to identify their own, their own definition of what authentic means to them. But for me, it's about speaking your opinion honestly in a healthy way, making decisions that align with your values and belief, which is very important. It guides most of my steps that I do and the things I choose to be part of. Pursuing your passions, listening to your intuition and guiding you forward, allowing yourself to be vulnerable and open-hearted, setting boundaries and walking away from toxic situations, including relationship or people, for that matter. On a deeper level, authenticity illuminates actually the path forward to live a life that you want. When you get clear on what matters to you, you make decisions that align with your identity and core values. You don't struggle. You don't end up finding yourself facing those internal battles, because everything you do or how you live your life does align with your identity, the core values, and what you believe. You begin to build a life that brings you meaning and joy. In doing so, you inspire also those around you to do the same.
Okay, then why be authentic? What's the benefit or the gain of being authentic?
Well, it isn't always easy actually to live to live an authentic life. At times, actually, being true and knowing doing the right thing means that you actually go against the crowd. You're not the most likable person in the room. It may mean being unconventional, opening yourself up for the possibility of, getting hurt by others or rejection and taking the harder road. On one hand, it does mean missing some opportunities, and you have to accept that, because if you're standing for something and you believe in something, you may miss opportunities because you are not, a follower. You haven't went with the popular crowd, so you probably end up losing some opportunities because of the stand you took, and you have to be comfortable and accept that part. However, in the longer term, it's likely that it would open opportunities that simply wouldn't have been available to someone who has been wishy-washy or shifty or conflicted. There are several benefits to being authentic, actually. Some of them are trust and respect by others as you stand for what you believe and your values. Integrity. You don't hesitate to do the right thing, and you never have to second guess yourself. The other benefit is ability to deal with problems. You're honest with yourself, and when you're honest with yourself, you actually have the strength and the openness to deal with problems quickly and own up to your mistakes and work tirelessly to actually work on your shortcomings as well. Realizing your potential, which means you trust yourself. And when you do that, you know you are guided it towards knowing already that you know what the right thing is. You can realize your full potential in life instead of letting other people dictate what's best for you, and you take control of your life. Also, confidence and self-esteem. You can trust yourself to make the right decision when you're being genuine and doing the right thing. As a result, this would lead to a higher self-confidence and self-esteem, greater optimism, and more life satisfaction. Also, less stress. You say what you do, and you mean what you say, or you do what you mean, and you stay true to yourself, and you behave accordingly. Would make you happier, more at ease, and free. Being authentic to yourself is far less actually stressful than being someone that you're not.
Couldn't agree more. So let's say somebody was looking at leading an authentic life. So how does one get started, and how do you actually develop authenticity?
Authenticity is living your life according to your own needs and value rather than those that society, friends, and family expect of you, right? So living authentically offers several benefits, as we mentioned, including respect from others and the ability to realize your true potential, happiness, and well-being, because you're less stressful of being someone that you're not, right?
That's true.
So you are living within those values and core values. Developing authenticity is a lifelong journey. Not saying it's easy to live in those shoes, but it's definitely a lifelong journey, because you will not always be the most popular person in the room.
I can see that.
To get started, you can take some few steps. So identify your values. And when I say identify your values, basically, are you taking step living towards those values? Do you know when something challenging ethically happens, do you know where you stand? Are you okay taking those stands? Identifying those values, what you believe in. That also comes when people choose, let's say, to shift to different career or shift to other organization. You always kind of want to look out for work for someone that actually does align with your core values as well, because that's where you end up having conflicted relationship later on when you come on board and you find out you and your manager, you don't really get along because you don't see eye to some pretty important things. And that's where you lose and have the disconnect. So that's one aspect. The other one would be identify who you want to be. So in that sense, identify where are the gaps. Where are the gaps in the sense that do you tend to put a mask and pretend to be a comedian or into sports or whatever it is that you're trying to be into, change your attitude so you can actually fit in? Those are gaps. Right off the bat, those are the gaps in your life where it shows that you're not living in your authentic life or being authentic. When you are just trying to fit in constantly, so you talk about sport that you don't care about. You take an interest in something that you really wouldn't have zero interest in. You say you read a book because a bunch of other popular people said read it, and then you just want to be part of that group. Those are the gaps. So are you creating personal goals for yourself, or you're adopting other people's goals and make them your own? And that actually cause you to actually be in disalignment with who you are. Live with integrity. Living with integrity is actually basically when you make promises, you're actually sticking to them. If you're taking actions, making promises, you're sticking to that. If you're making mistakes, you own up to your mistakes. If you know what your shortcomings are, you're the first to work on them. You stand for what you believe in, and it gives you that sense of ease, right? Versus when you live outside of your integrity, your voice is small. You're not living with ease, and you have this kind of a burden that you carry because you're not living with the integrity you believe. Communicate honestly. Communicating honestly is about actually making sure that you are clear about your wants and your needs and what are you looking for. You keep your promises. You actually also, it falls under being assertive. When you take a stand assertively, it should not compromise you in a professional level. It should not, the two shouldn't be separate. It's basically you know what's the right thing to do and you're taking a stand for that. The other one would be develop self-confidence. Self-confidence is about being comfortable with your strength, and you're building it, and it builds into your confidence in your also being assertive and grounded and getting through challenging situations without second guessing yourself. And don't make assumptions. Assumptions are, a lot of us tend to make a lot of assumptions, and we judge the book by its cover. But when you go through life making assumptions about others, where judgment isn't strictly necessary, try to suspend that judgment and let others' actions speak for themselves, and try to take their word at face value. I used to work for someone who one time I pointed out I was surprised at their level as an executive. They trust people right off the bat. And I said, why he does that? And I was surprised. I said, I've never worked with people who just trust people right off the bat. And he said to me that as a leader, he found the best thing to do is to trust his team. Yes, right off the bat, because it make them feel empowered, trustworthy. And unless someone break that trust, that's when it's taken away and it's hard to earn it back. So he believed in actually giving trust right off the bat versus having someone work at it. Where I worked with so many people who actually, that's not what they do and that's not how they operate. Some people take them 2 years to trust and be comfortable with somebody. That's quite a long time. And that's where you find disconnect. People end up not building those authentic connections.
So basically, I trust you until you give me reason not to.
Yes.
Okay.
And lastly, manage your emotions, right? So being authentic is also knowing when to control your emotion. It's important part of living is that living authentically, because it shows that you have an inner strength and you respect those around you. It's a skill worth developing, since it will serve you well in a lot of aspects of life and career as well. Treating people with respect and courtesy, and in stressful situation, when you have that self-awareness and be able to self-regulate instead of projecting and taking your anger out on people. So in the question really become, will living authentic life makes you happier? And that's the question probably people would ask sometimes, or even ask themselves, or even ask if they're listening to this podcast. So all of this authenticity and choosing authenticity, would it actually make you feel happier? And the answer to that is, There are several studies and research that found people who live an authentic life they feel happier and have higher self-esteem. Showing up authentically brings greater satisfaction and lower the stress level because you're not pretending and wearing different masks constantly. That's where you need to tap in again on the gaps. Where do you find yourself doing that to fit in? And why are you doing it? What's the intention? Are you coming from a fear base? And all those things. Authenticity increases satisfaction also in romantic relationships, right? So you're not pretending to date someone, for something, and then because that's eventually gonna run its course and the truth is gonna come out. When you discover how to be your authentic self, you live in the flow. Creativity and abundance come effortlessly. Consistently living up to your core values leads to that self-confidence we talked about. You trust yourself and know that you can overcome obstacles when pursuing goals. When you learn also how to be real, you also create genuine relationships, right? You express yourself honestly, and therefore it attracts like-minded people who support you and who support who you are and like you for who you are. Pretty
kind
much.
of a success breeds success, not in the money-wise, but I mean relationship-wise. Successful relationships breed more successful relationships.
And finding that tribe. Do you want to be surrounded by a bunch of friends, companionships, and all surface level, and everybody's tooting their own horns and playing that game of, my perfect life and the perfect picture and everything? Or do you want to be with people who truly care, want to build a connection with you, care for your accomplishments, care for your success, are there for you even when there is setbacks, not disappearing when things happen, and that happened in authentic friendship, authentic relationship, everything. Building a network that you can tap in when you need help or you need recommendation and support. When you don't have those relationships built authentically, that over 500 or 10,000 network and people in your network and your connection on LinkedIn, when you need them, they're nowhere to be found. So everything is just a surface level and just a perception at the end of the day. That's all I have for today on this topic. So thank you for tuning in. It's good to be here with you. Until next time, may you enjoy a life of authenticity and may you live with ease. Back to you, Dan.
Thanks, Amal. And thank you all very much for joining us here at Distracted by Life. Today, actually, my personal takeaway is authenticity is living your life according to your own needs and values rather than those that society, friends, and family expect from you. That is for sure. And when you learn how to be real, you also create genuine relationships, which in the long run is what it's all about, isn't it? If you're interested to learn more, check out Amal's website at amalcandido.com, where she talks about her coaching world with links to other podcasts, her books as well. And with that said, stay tuned for our next episode from Amal and myself. Thanks again, and talk to you soon.